Hello and welcome to this edition of the Inspiration by Loretta Show. I'm your host Loretta Green Warren, and we'll be talking today about love, marriage, and relationship. I'm sitting here today with an awesome couple, Mr. and Mrs. Cole, and they're going to share their life, their testimony with us. So I want you to sit tight, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Cole. Welcome to this show. It is such a pleasure to have you on the Inspiration by Loretta Show on today. So we're talking today about love, marriage, and relationship. But before we get into that, I would like for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And we'll start with you, Mrs. Cole. Can you give us your name and just a little bit of background about yourself?
Okay. Well, my name is Tamara Cole, and for 13 years I was a teacher in Charleston County. And just recently I stepped out on faith, and I am writing a book. So I am currently an author.
Awesome.
I speak it, I claim it, and it shall be.
And it is. It is. All right. So Mr. Cole, tell us about yourself.
Yes, my name is Vincent Cole. I was a CNC operator for about, it was going to be 18 years. Then I got sick. And I started my own, it was going to be a cleaning business. And till then, since 2010, I have my own cleaning business.
Okay, awesome. So you guys are somewhat of a power couple. And Ms. Cole, I definitely want to talk a little bit about your book and your writing experience, because that's definitely something that can inspire other people who might be thinking about it. Because, you know, I think all of us have a story inside of us. It's just a matter of putting it out on paper. So we want to talk about that process just a little bit.
Absolutely.
But our main goal here today is to talk about relationship, and we want to encourage other people through your story. So the first thing I want to know is, how long have you guys been married?
We were married for 24 years.
24 years. Oh my goodness.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you manage to stay married for 24 years?
Well, I believe, I know for me, faith is important. And we had a very strong support system. My great-grandparents, who were married well over 65 years, were a strong force in our lives as a young couple. Vincent's parents, who were married for 40-plus years, they were a strong force in our lives. So we had really good examples of what it took to have staying power as a couple.
Awesome.
So we had that, and then just our love for each other, wanting to be that couple, wanting to be the ones who made it, and to be a strong support for our 4 children.
Right. So you have 4 children together.
Yes, we do.
4 children.
Awesome. So you have sons, daughters?
We have 3 boys and one daughter.
Okay.
Who's the oldest.
Okay, awesome. Now, tell me, what do you think is the key to longevity in a marriage?
Go ahead, baby.
Okay, well, what I think is the key is that you have to love each other. And you have to put God first, and you have to compromise. And a lot of couples these days, they don't want to compromise.
Right.
And and I believe that I love my wife with all my heart.
Awesome. And sometimes it's very, very rare to find men who are willing to express to the world how much they love their wives. What do you say it takes as a man to stand up as a man in a marriage and a relationship?
Well, you have to be willing to do things that you don't want to do. I mean, like, I wanted my wife to go to college. So I took on an extra job so she wouldn't have to work, so she could finish her studies. And and like I said before, you just have to be willing to do things that you don't want to do. And I knew that we had common goals. So when we got married, we discussed everything, and we found out that we were a lot alike.
Right. Okay. Now I like what you said about being willing to make certain sacrifices for the person that you love. That is such an amazing and powerful statement right there for a lot of young couples or just people just starting out. That's something I think that they definitely need to know and to hear from somebody who's been married as long as you guys have. you have to be willing to make certain sacrifices for the person that you love, doing something that you might not necessarily want to do, but you do it because you know it will make the other person better. That's amazing. That is really amazing.
And if it makes the other person better, it makes you as a couple better.
Exactly.
You know. So, and outside of, I just want to piggyback on what he said. Outside of him taking on the additional job, he also took on the additional responsibility of taking care of the kids and cooking whenever the cooking needed to be done. So it was never a thing where there were lines of, well, she's the wife, so she should do this, and I'm the husband, so I'll do that. It's always a thing of, this is my family.
Right.
And so I have to do what's most beneficial for my family.
Right, exactly. Okay, so let's go back for a minute. How did you two meet?
I'll let my wife explain that.
Vincent's cousin, who was a friend of mine from middle school, Kim, we ended up at the same college. And she took me just to meet her cousin and some of his roommates. We saw one another. He says love at first sight. I said, that's not true. That's not true. But eventually, it was one of those things where after being around him, we were at South Carolina State College, and I didn't want to be in college. But very quickly, I realized I loved being with him. And so he became my classes, my GPA, and everything else, and I just enjoyed his company. He was somebody who was easy to talk to, and he showered me with attention and love, and it was never a problem. It was something that I had never experienced with him, opening doors and purchasing flowers, and I wasn't used to that.
So he was a man.
Oh yes,
gentleman.
Definitely a gentleman.
Swept
Still is.
off your feet type
yes,
of man.
yes, and he still is a gentleman.
After 20,
still does open
years.
my door. He still does.
Awesome. You know they don't make them like that very much anymore. So I would say that you are a very blessed woman to have a man like that.
I am
definitely
very blessed.
So, how did you know, or when did you realize that your partner was the one that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
Well, I mean, for me, I realized that because I never really had any other girlfriends, and I just enjoyed being around her. I mean, when she was in class, I would drive her to her class, and I would wait for her because I wanted to see her again, and we just clicked.
It was just that unspoken and unseen thing that just kind of binded you two together.
Absolutely. He made me feel like I was a priority. I was not an option.
Right.
And I brought her home to mama, so.
And that's
all
it.
Right.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
You know you in there when he bring you home to mama.
Yes, and I took him home, and my grandfather said, "Nah, I like that haircut."
All right.
So I knew. I said, "Oh yeah, he's the one."
Awesome. So now, what would be your definition of love? And I want both of you to answer this question individually.
I mean, I think my definition of love is you have to compromise. You have to be willing to do anything to make the relationship work. And you have to be a faithful person. You have to believe in God.
Right. God is the foundation for all things.
Oh yes.
Well, my definition of love is living out God's principles. That you have to be willing to love, to forgive. And if he forgives us 77 times a day, you have to adopt a lot of those principles and recognize that as individuals, you are flawed.
Right.
And so you have to be able to accept those flaws, and you have to be willing to forgive when things don't always work out the way that you thought that they would. And that's an unconditional love where I don't judge you for the things that don't go right, but I appreciate you for those things that do.
Right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I want to just take a moment to thank you for sharing your life and your experience with me and being an impact on my life. And I'm sure if you are impacting me in this interview, I'm sure that the people who are watching are definitely going to be impacted and going to be inspired by what you're sharing with me here on today. So thank you so much for that. Now, I want to switch gears just a little bit. Now, I know in every relationship you're going to have your highs and you're going to have your lows. I want to talk about the lows for a minute. I know, Mr. Cole, you mentioned getting sick.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Well, in 2008, I came home from work. Well, I just came from the eye doctor the day before, and I called my wife. It was about 9. It was about 9 at night, and I said, "Baby, I can't see." I said that I have my glasses on, and I said, "Baby, I can't see. I just came from the eye doctor. I don't know what's going on." And she said, "Well, just go ahead and stay there, and I'll come pick you up." But it took her about 40 minutes to get to my job. So I said, "No, baby, I'm just gonna try to make it home." Well, when I got home, she looked into my eyes, and she said they were bloodshot red. So she rushed me to the emergency room. I don't remember anything after that. They told her that my sugar was over 1,500. That I'm lucky to be alive. I don't remember too much after that but I was diagnosed with a kidney disease, and 2 years later, I went on dialysis, got a transplant. She's my donor.
Wow! Stop it! Wait a minute! Wait a minute! You needed a kidney transplant.
Yes.
And lo and behold, the love of your life, this
Yes.
woman that you waited for in college, and just wanted to be with, just wanted to see, is now your donor.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes, ma'am.
tell me about it.
Well, we're going to have to back up a little bit because he said 2008. It was more like 2004 because we had just had our son when everything just kind of took off and exploded.
Okay, you might be right.
Yeah, it was a little sooner than that because it was a process. It started with him being diagnosed with sugar diabetes, and then the diabetes progressed into the failure of his kidneys, where he ended up on dialysis. And for a few years, he started with hemodialysis, and then he went into what they call peritoneal dialysis, which is called PD. And I watched something happen in the dynamic of my family. I watched my 4 children learning how to care for their father medically. Because with him doing the dialysis at home, we had to keep the environment really clean. We were having to help him put things together because he had to connect himself to a machine for 14 hours a day.
Really?
And it was just a really difficult process and a very heartbreaking process. And I don't think I have ever prayed so much in my life. And there were nights when he would be in the bed asleep and not know that I would have my hands on his kidneys, and I would pray that God would make me his match. That would be my nightly prayer. God, if there's nothing else that you will do for me, I want you to provide me with the opportunity to be a match for my husband. Because I want forever with him. I want our children to be able to grow up and have their father here. I want to be able to sit on the porch and drink sweet tea with my sweetheart. Because that was the promise that we made to each other.
Right.
And I remember being at school, and he sent me a text message that said, "Thank you for the gift of life. You are my match."
Oh my God. This is a praise break.
And in 2010, we went into surgery. March 24th, 2010, we went into surgery. And so, I mean, it was just one of the most beautiful things
Yeah, I mean
that I ever experienced. Are you crying? One of the most beautiful things that I was ever able to do in my life. And it was no question, because he didn't want me to do it. He was concerned because it was a thing where, you know, any surgery can be a dangerous thing. You go under and you're under anesthesia. There's a possibility that one or both of us would not have come out of it, and our children could have been orphaned. But I said, my God did not bring us that far where he was going to leave us, and that he wasn't going to allow our children to be able to see the miracle that he had put in place.
And that is a true miracle. I'm witnessing it, and I'm like floored here.
Yes, ma'am.
I am floored. That is an amazing story, and I pray that the people watching can feel what I'm feeling right now. To share something so intimate with your husband, to be his lifeline. You know, every wife wants to be her husband's lifeline. You're living it. You actually were and are your husband's lifeline. And the fact that God chose you to do that is such an amazing thing. So when this man laid eyes on you all those years ago, he knew exactly what he was doing.
It's all a part of God's plan.
It's all
because I said we never know why God places people in our lives.
Right.
And then you realize, and that's something you should always look for. Why is God placing this person in my life?
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a question that I'd like everybody to ask themselves in their relationship. I think it's a very important question. It's a huge question if you really think about it. Why did God place this person in my life? For what purpose does this person serve? Or what purpose do I serve in this person's life?
That's right.
And you two have the answer to that question.
Absolutely. And to have a doctor look you in the face and say, you are his perfect match.
Perfect.
That you are his perfect match.
Perfect in everything.
Then I knew that was God.
Oh
yes,
my God.
That was God.
Oh my God. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is such a beautiful, beautiful love story. I've never heard a story like that. Never have. And I thank God for it. I definitely do, because now it makes me appreciate my husband just a little bit more.
Yes, ma'am, because you never know. And that's why you have to treat people accordingly.
Right.
You never know.
You just never know. An amazing example of love and commitment. And you have such a testimony of the power of God and the power of prayer. Because you and I want to talk about that for a second. Asking and being given, because the Bible tells us, asking and shall be given you. And you asked, and he gave you exactly what you asked for. And not just give you what you asked for, he gave you much, much more, because you were the perfect match for you. Not just any match, but the perfect match for your husband. But not only his perfect match as in, being his donor, his perfect life partner, his wife, the mother of his children. I mean, how does that make you feel?
I feel blessed. I feel honored. I feel that my life now has fulfilled something great that I didn't know that I wanted when I was younger.
Right.
Didn't feel that I deserved. And I think that that's something that a lot of women struggle with, is that whole idea of not knowing what they deserve. And so I just see a fulfillment of purpose all the way around in my relationship with my husband and through our children. I see the fulfillment of something great, something that I just never even imagined when I was young.
That's amazing. Mr. Cole, how does it make you feel, like when you got the news that your wife was your perfect match? What did that do for you and to you as a husband and a father, and just as a man in general?
Well, when I got the news that my wife was my match, I had mixed feelings. I was so happy that she was willing to even go through all the testing, because a lot of testing that she had to do. And when we found out that she was a match, I was like, wow, I'm so blessed to have this woman in my life, but do I really want her to go through this surgery? Because I was also afraid, because if something would have happened to her, I cannot forgive myself, because she is my best friend. Yeah, I mean, I just love her so much.
That's amazing. And we can definitely see that there's a lot of love in this room, and just to be a part of it is such an amazing experience for me. So now that we've gotten emotional. Okay, so what I want to know is, how did your family handle the surgeries and the recovery process?
Well, we had mixed reviews. My great-grandmother at the time, she was so funny, because I called her and I asked her, I told her, I said, Grandma, we just got the news and I'm Vincent's match. And she was like, is that a good thing? She said, because I don't think I could do that for Jack.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and it was just so funny, because I knew that was a gut-wrench reaction, her initial reaction, but I knew that there was nothing in this world she would not have done for my grandfather.
Right.
I knew that. So it was pretty funny. My father was a little bit concerned. Well, I would say a lot concerned, you know, because his thing is, you bring a child into the world and that child has all of her organs and fingers and toes, everything is in place, and then you go into surgery, that having this surgery, you may give up a kidney, but you don't know what else you may give up.
Right.
Because things can go wrong. So there was a fear from him. My mom was really supportive. She was like, go for it. You know, I'm happy for you. This is wonderful. This is a beautiful thing. Your husband has been sick. My brother was really supportive. He was there. And my children, they rallied around and they were extremely supportive. And they were young. I mean, our daughter was already in her first year of college. Our oldest son, he really stepped up. He was in the 11th grade. And he took care of his two younger siblings, you know, during that whole process of recuperation. So we had an enormous amount of support, you know.
And that's amazing when a family is able to pull together in time of crisis, you know, and that's your father being overly concerned is a natural reaction for a father. You know, you're daddy's little girl, and you don't want anything to happen to your little girl. But your mom being extremely supportive of it is amazing too. Because I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I would want my daughter to, you know, I would be afraid that, I don't want to lose my little girl, you know what I'm saying? But I get with her understanding the importance of what you were doing, what it meant for your family.
Right.
It's great that she was able to give you that support, because I believe that God always gives us exactly what we need when we need it, and I think you needed her to be that strong and supportive mom to help you through that process.
Well, I have to tell you, she knew it wasn't going to matter anyway, because they know I am extremely stubborn and I'm going to do what I want to do regardless.
Right.
And I just kind of opened the door and said to them, you know, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me how you feel. But understand, how you feel is not going to impact the decision that was already made. Because from the moment that I found out he was sick, the decision was made. When I find out that I am his match, not if. When I find out that I am his match, I will have this surgery. So that was years in the making. So I just wanted them to have an opportunity to express how they felt, because I didn't want there to be any regrets if something did happen to me. So I just opened that door for that purpose only. Not because I really cared about what they thought or how they felt. That was for them, not for me.
Right. So your mind, there
my
were no
mind was
ifs,
made
ands,
up.
or buts
There
about
was
it.
no question whatsoever. I knew
And that's some powerful
that
love.
God ordained that, because he would not have made that happen. And whatever happened afterward, that was in his hands. And you know, and I'm a believer that, you know, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. We're all going to leave this place sometime. You know, and if I had to leave this place, what more beautiful way to leave than doing something positive and something so powerful for my husband and for my children, for the people that I love. You know, and it's one of those things where, you know, I couldn't stand to watch him suffer and struggle the way that he did when he was on dialysis. I wanted him to have life back.
Right.
Because he was living, but he didn't have life. And there's a big difference. And I can see the difference in him now versus who he was then.
That's amazing. And you are such a strong faith woman. It takes some kind of faith to act and think like that without question, without doubt. I mean, when you know who God is and you know what God can do for you, you know what he have done for you, it's okay and to be safe in who he is.
That's right.
Regardless of what happens. My prayer is always, God, whatever you do, make it all right with me.
Your will be done.
Right. And to see you express that type of faith is amazing. And I pray that those listening will adapt that type of attitude and establish that type of a relationship with God, because it first starts with your relationship with him, because you don't know what he has to offer you until you have that solid relationship, until you are abided in him and allowed him to abide in you. You know, you don't know, you know, that you have that type of power where you ask for something of that magnitude, knowing that you will receive it. Because, like you said, it wasn't a question of if, but when. So not only am I sure that it's going to happen, I'm comfortable in the when it will happen. And that is truly amazing. That is amazing. That is there's some powerful, there's a lot of power in this place.
I have two other people I do need to mention. My cousin Shonda and my cousins Tina and my girlfriend Shelly. When I tell you, you don't know who your people really are until you can't do things for yourself. Those three ladies, when I tell you, they came in and they stepped in and they cooked, made sure we were not hungry, they cleaned. And my son Leondas, when I tell you, to watch a young man step up the way that he did,
and grow in
to
front
grocery shop, to cook, to clean, to take care of his younger siblings and make sure that they got off to school each day, and to check their homework, and always making sure that we were okay in the process. And just like he said, just to watch him grow right in front of us, to step in and step up.
Well, I think it's based on whole part of the foundation being laid, watching his father be a man in front of him, encouraged and led to him becoming that man that God created him to be.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm sure you guys are very proud, and you also should be proud of yourselves for laying that foundation for him. Because if you hadn't done what you did in his earlier years, he wouldn't have been prepared to take on that role as that strong brother, son, caretaker role. He wouldn't have been able to do that had it not been for what you guys did in front of him. Now I want to talk about that for a minute. When it comes to raising children in a marriage, what do you think is the most important thing we should be focusing on as parents?
Well, I think that, especially for if you have sons, you have to show them. It's fine to just tell them, but you have to show them. You have to lead by your examples. You want to be a good father and also a better man, so your sons can follow in your footsteps. You can't stay out late. You don't want to mistreat your wife, and you want to show them what it is to be a man. And I think that both of us have done a pretty good job at that. Our eldest son, he's a senior. He's in the top 1% of the graduating class at the Citadel. So,
congratulations.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Our daughter, I mean, I'm just watching her develop and grow into this beautiful spiritual person who just has such a deep knowledge and understanding much sooner than I of God's existence and how he works in our lives. So I love watching her go through that process. And our second son, he's 16, I keep saying 15. Yeah. He's 16, ranked number 2 in the state of South Carolina for basketball. And
6'5".
He's 6'5", and doing such wonderful academically, you know, and I'm really proud to watch him grow into the young man that he's becoming, where he's coming to understand what it takes to be a man, but to be also a successful young man. And our youngest son, you know, because I've taken some time away from work, so it's really given me an opportunity to sit back and just observe them. And with our youngest son, the thing that I am marveled by is his just unrelenting ability to forgive people. Because I watched him being bullied, and just watch him, you know, when we would give the advice that our parents gave, you know, anybody put their hands on you, you have permission to hit them back. And he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to fight. I want to try to work it out. And you know, and it made me rethink that just because your parents said it doesn't make it right. And he made me rethink some of the things that I was taught that I may have passed on to them. And I realized, I said, you know, this little Gandhi here is something else. You know, that he has this spirit of forgiveness and wanting to just get along. And I think that that's something that adults as well as children could benefit from. The importance of being able to forgive people when they wrong you and just being able to move on. And so to see that in him at 10 years old is such a positive and powerful thing for me.
That is amazing. And that's sometimes rare in children, you know.
Absolutely.
Like you said, the things that you instill in your children, or because the Bible tells us, train up a child in the way that you go, and when he's old, you will not part from it. But sometimes in our training, we falter.
We falter.
But
that's
the Holy Spirit will impart in the children wisdom beyond their years, in spite of what we, you know, teach them. So
absolutely,
that's amazing.
And so for me, it really touched me in a way where I said, you know what, I wasn't taught the right way. That's not the right way. And this child here understands God in a much deeper sense than some grown people do. And that was really inspiring to me, to watch him teach me something about what it truly means to be a decent human being.
Awesome. So reach one, teach one. We can, as well as the children learn from adults, adults can also learn from children.
You have to be open and willing.
Right. That's amazing. So now we've been having a great time sitting here and talking about your life and everything that has happened with you guys, where you were, where you are now. Tell us about where you are now. You've gone through the surgeries and having the kidney transplants done. You're back in good health, Mr. Cole.
Yes.
So where are you now with your life, your relationship, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, we are enjoying life. We have a 25th wedding renewal of vows planned.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure where yet.
I want to go to an island. I want white sands and a horse. He's not with the horse. He is not hearing a horse.
But it's like just rediscovering things about my wife. I mean, and it's fascinating. I mean, she has me going to her church now. She started going to a new church, so I'm trying to go more often now alone for her. And I'm just enjoying being around her. I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's like we're teenagers again.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah, I actually left the teaching profession this year. As I stated, I've taught in Charleston County for 13 years. I loved being with my students. From time to time, I do miss that part of it. But there was a yearning. There was something that was pulling. And I always wanted to write. And so I took this opportunity, because I had several manuscripts, but I took this opportunity to really sit down and zone in on my writing. But also in the process of zoning in on my writing, I've taken the time to really zone in on my relationship with God. And just as he said, I joined a new church, Truth and Fellowship Global Ministries, with Pastor Briggs at the helm and Lady Sabrina, and they are such awesome teachers and such a wonderful support. And they have this strong foundation in the idea of asking and ye shall receive. That you cannot be hesitant in the way that you ask God. If he is your father, just like you would ask your earthly father for something, you can go to him and ask for whatever you want. And so right now I have asked him to lead me down a path of understanding of what it is I'm supposed to do. And I had to really seek out my passion. And my passion has been writing, and that leads to your purpose. So I'm really working toward that now. I've just finished my first manuscript. I'm researching how to self-publish, because I'd like to start my own publishing company and help others who may be interested in doing the same. But it has truly been a leap of faith. It has been a leap of faith, because we have dropped down to one income with the cleaning business, and you know, but I believe. I believe in this, and he's looking at me like, yeah, I believe you.
That's not true.
I believe it. Yeah, he does. Now, I think he's more convinced, because the manuscript, he sees where I'm serious about it. But, you know, he knows that there aren't too many things that if I say I'm going to do it, that I don't complete. And right now, I'm working through this, because I'm believing in the theme for our church, which is 7 years of plenty, that the next 7 years will be the best 7 years of my life. And I am believing in that more than anything else right now, that God has truly set me out on this path with a purpose of greatness. And I will not accept anything less.
All right now. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. You have to be confident in yourself. And my motto is my mission is to empower and inspire women and girls to know their worth.
Absolutely.
To speak to a woman of worth who knows her worth is truly amazing for me. That helps me to understand and to see that I am on the path that God has set me on. I am doing what he has ordained for me to do. Absolutely. To reach women and to expose women to women of worth. And when you know what you're worth, there is nothing that can stop you from making things happen in your life.
It is.
If you want it, you go out there and you get it. You have to believe in yourself.
That's
you have to believe in your abilities, and then you have to believe in something bigger than yourself, which is God. You have to have that strong faith foundation to be able to build anything, because things if it's built on anything other than God, it's on shaky ground.
Sinking sand.
You know, that is amazing. Well, before we end today, what advice could you give to couples starting out?
Find mentors. Find people in your lives who have successful marriages. Not necessarily perfect marriages, because there's no such thing. But where you have seen that their marriage has endured the test of time. I always say that if you hadn't been married at least 15 years, you can't give me any advice, because you really haven't gone through anything.
Right.
So you have to have those strong people that you can look to who will provide you with support. Keep your family out of your business.
Number one.
Keep your family out of your business, because sometimes, you know, although they may mean well, they don't know what they're talking about. You have to try to figure out ways that you can work through. And another big thing is that if it's just like with a car needing maintenance, sometimes you have to get counseling. And it's okay to seek counsel in your relationship.
Right. That's some good advice. It's definitely some good advice. Now, if you could think of 3 words that describes your marriage, your relationship, what would those 3 words be?
3 words: love, strength, and commitment.
Love it. Love, faith, love, strength, and commitment. 3 powerful words in any relationship. 3 powerful words in life in general.
Life in general.
Because you have to have a love for yourself, a love for the person that you're with, a love for God, you have to have the strength to love yourself,
Yes.
to love the person you're with, and to love God. And then you have to be committed to loving yourself, loving the person you're with, and loving God.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. I love it. Tamara, what is the name? Do you have a title yet for this book that you're writing so that the people can look out for it?
I do. It's called The Life and Times of a Public School Teacher.
All right. That sounds fun.
Oh, it was.
That sounds
Lots
good.
of interesting things.
So who do you know who your target audience is?
Teachers, I would say students. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, just talking about those experiences that I had working with young people and encounters that I had and relationships that I was able to build. But I think teachers are probably going to be the target audience for this book, because many of them will be able to relate to a lot of what I've talked about. And also anybody who's looking to understand how God works, because I didn't start out as a teacher.
Right.
You know, I worked for a large chain at one time, making below minimum wage, struggling, and just one day it was like, baby, I can't do this anymore. I need to go back to school. And so anybody who wants to be inspired and understand that, you know, just because you're here today doesn't mean you have to stay there.
Right. I love that. I love that. That should be a model for life. That your right now don't have to determine your future.
Definitely
It's
does
completely
not.
up to you.
Definitely does not. And the power of speaking.
Power in the tongue.
Speaking and understanding that whatever you put out in that atmosphere, you better be prepared for whatever it is to come back. So learning how to speak positively over yourself. Speaking greatness into yourself and speaking it into your children.
Right. Right.
Speaking it into your spouse.
Amen. All right, that was very, very good. What time frame do you think we should be able to look for this book? When do you
I
plan to
would
have
say
it available?
Definitely by early summer. Definitely late spring, early summer.
Awesome, awesome.
Late spring.
You say late spring?
Oh yeah.
Late spring. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys
Thank
for being a part of the Inspiration by Loretta family. I want to thank you for sharing your story and your testimony, your life, your faith, and your love with myself and the listening audience. And we look forward to speaking with you guys and possibly sharing some more from you guys. And Tamara, definitely when the book comes out, we definitely want to talk about that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it as well.
All right. This has been this edition of the Inspiration by Loretta Show, talking about life, love, and marriage. And I definitely appreciate my wonderful guests, Mr. and Mrs. Cole, for being on the show. It is my prayer that something shared here today has inspired you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you next time. Be blessed, everybody.